I just got off work and I think it shows. So here's the recap and an update on what's going on so far. If you play Girls Frontline 2, then there should not be any way that you miss the fact that there is now a skin gacha on the Chinese servers. I didn't stress this in my previous video, but I'll stress it now. This is the worst gacha I've seen ever, actually. It's about as predatory as you can get, and there's even a hypothesis that this may break a few laws in both Japan and Brazil and other countries. Mika is also accused of fraudulent advertisement, especially when it comes to macchiato skin. Considering that they separated the macchiato skin and the animation that was advertised last year, it has caused a pretty big uproar in the community worldwide. So since then, the Chinese player base has unionized essentially, and they have made several demands, including a refund of the macchiato skin due to the fraudulent advertising. There are several other demands that have been made, and that link will be in the description so you can read everything. But the thing that matters the most is if there is no action or plan of action by Friday, then they will cease all funding and they will do a complete cease of any guides, any videos, or anything that fosters the Chinese community. Last weekend, I stated that if you want anything done, then we need to do the same as the Chinese player base. A lot of people resonate with that, especially other content creators like Kansai Dorito, Sia, and Gacha Tabby. Several platoons, as well as several members of the Girls Frontline Reddit, has also decided to join in. After that, the Chinese player base communicated with the English player base. Basically, we have all signed more or less a pledge that we will cease all spending, and for any content creators, we will stop all content of Girls Frontline. Now, today happened, and there was an invitation from Sunborn or Mika to the Chinese player base to come into the company so that they can have a discussion. This happened today, but long story short, it seems they got ghosted. There was only low-end staff that literally had no idea what was going on. So despite being invited today, there was a meeting, but the meeting was with people that didn't really have any power to change anything. So the secretary or the receptionist or whoever said that they'll try to get a reschedule when the executives are actually here. That way they can have a discussion as promised. The issue is that I'm not sure if this is going to happen if they've already ghosted them. Now, there are two possible reasons why this happened. The first is that this was unauthorized in the first place. Someone in the company jumped the gun without actually asking the executives, and basically it'll be a whole miscommunication and it was an honest mistake. The other is that they did get permission and they did send a message out to Chinese player base, but then Mika changed their mind. That's the worst of the two, but it's on the board right now because there is no explanation at the moment. So the Chinese player base has communicated back with us. They are going to try to see if anything can be done, but as it stands right now, they have decided to cease all spending as it is. So more or less, they have accelerated the schedule and they are waiting for any sort of feedback for Friday. And I assume on Friday, if nothing happens, then they're going to proceed forward with everything else. And that's it for the updates. Now it's time for me to tell you what's going to happen on the English side. So today, while I was at work actually, Kansai Dorito released a video stating that he will also stop all spending as well as cease all content creation for Girls Frontline 2. I am also going to do the same thing. The reason for this is actually quite simple. I'm the one who suggested it, and I am going to lead by principle. Obviously, I love Girls Frontline. In fact, I said day one that I am ride or die with this game. And even through all of this, I would have continue to play the game. But this actually is a extremely predatory thing. And in my good conscience, I would rather try to fight this than to just give up and say this doesn't matter. Now, to the people who are saying this actually doesn't matter, for one thing, it's not on global, and the other is that boycotts never work for gacha games, I would actually agree with you, just based on the history of what happened to Hoyoverse. There are so many times when content creators and people in general try to boycott the game, but eventually they cave in like a week later. It's happened multiple times, and honestly, it is pretty laughable when you really think about it. The thing is, though, is that we aren't the Hoyoverse community, we're the Girls Frontline community. And we are also in a unique position where we actually hold a lot of sway, because as the global community, we are giving them a lot of money. Now, it really depends on if Japan is also on board. I do know Korea is on board, and they're also doing the boycott. But Japan in particular, it would be very helpful if they were on board as well. I am not delusional. This isn't really an ego thing. I know for a fact that my videos aren't that popular. In fact, I'm probably on the smaller side when it comes to the Girls Frontline content creation. I do focus on lore stuff, and people love lore stuff. But when it comes to guides, when it comes to gameplay, that brings in a lot more people. So to be completely fair to myself, I'm just a drop in the bucket. I know that Mika team won't really give a shit about me. But the thing about boycotts is that it's not just about one person, it's about the collective. If it's just a small group, obviously it's not going to matter what you do. But the bigger it gets, the much more probable it becomes that you actually make changes. So even though it is not happening in global yet, and I know a lot of people don't really care about this whole thing because it's not in global yet, this still matters, because if it goes through in China, then it's going to sit pretty in global. You can't wait for this to happen. It has to be done now, by the way. I think that's like the big thing that people are misconstruing right now because of how aggressive this has gotten. No one is saying that you can't play the game. You are totally free to play the game. All we're really asking for you is to not spend any money. As long as you don't spend any money and let the revenue drop, then that is enough of a signal to show that Mika needs to do something. They need to do a U-turn immediately. And at the end of the day, even though this may not work, even though Mika team may not care, even if we drop into the negatives, Mika may not change anything. And I am totally aware of that. And to be completely honest, this is not going to be a short thing. I'll be very shocked if this is immediately dealt with by Friday. This is most likely going to be something that lasts for the entire month, if not longer than that. But I'm going to pull a quote from a game that I really loved, which was StarCraft. The one thing I know is that we can count on each other to get the job done, or die trying, if that's what it takes. Because some things are just worth fighting for. I know, it's cringe as fuck, but those are really inspirational words for me. Even if things don't change, at least I can say that I tried. And I hope at least those words will also affect you as well. Anyways, that is it for everything pertaining to Girls Frontline 2. By the way, I should also say this also affects the Girls Frontline 1 stuff as well. I won't be doing anything regarding Girls Frontline, period. And I know a lot of you guys only came here for Girls Frontline. You guys don't really care about anything else, and that's totally fine. That is how YouTube content creation works. And I hold no ill will to anyone who decides to just move on from my channel, because there may be a good possibility that I don't come back to doing content creation with Girls Frontline, depending on how long this is. And I will have to move on to something else. So from this point forward, I'll be talking about the channel as a whole and its future. So if you're only here for Girls Frontline 2, then thank you for showing up, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Now, for the rest of you guys that are still here, one, I really appreciate it. I have been doing content creation seriously for almost a year. It's getting close to it. But I have always done YouTube for a very long time because I really enjoy making videos. It is my passion. So regardless of what happens to Girls Frontline, I will always make videos about stuff. Because it turns out I've noticed that I actually really love showing stories and telling stories and highlighting good stories and maybe highlighting bad ones, especially if it's funny. So some of you guys have seen that I have dabbled into other games besides Girls Frontline on this channel, especially if we go far back where I'm doing Brown Nose 2 as well. I'm probably not going back to that because of how hard it is to make content without getting age restricted, but you know, it is what it is. But there's actually a lot of gacha games out there with good stories that I do want to highlight. So regardless of whether I continue doing Girls Frontline 2 stuff or not, I will be dabbling into other games as well and highlighting those stories because I believe they should be highlighted. Even if they're more popular than Girls Frontline 2 and they don't need me to highlight, I just do it because I think it's fun. So there should be an increase in videos of other gacha games, which includes Wuthering Waves, Zenless Zone Zero, because I actually think that's a good story game now, and Nikkei, and possibly single player games. I know it would be a pretty hard shift because Girls Frontline has become such a big symbol for my channel, but at some point I just have to look at the numbers. When it comes to story, people love it, but when it comes to content consumption, it has always been difficult to foster a massive community with it. And even though I am doing this for fun and I love it, I do also want to grow the channel, and I do also want to share other things that I love. So I will continue trying my best to make as good of videos as I can. And I hope you guys will stick around for the ride. Again, if you're watching the entire video, I really do appreciate it. Right now we're in unknown territory, but I hope you're all able to stick it out with me, and we'll be all the better for it. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.